It's another side that, like, wants to take more. It wants to go that one more round. Because, like, going that one more round when you don't think you can, that's what makes all the difference in your life. You know what I mean?
This is One More Round, the Rocky Series podcast. But I'm glad you're safe from Ecuador. Oh, Kyle just joined us. That was quicker than we thought. Okay, Kyle's coming in late.
Sorry, guys.
No. We just started thinking, well, why don't we just read the emails and stuff while we're waiting for you? But you're here. How are you?
So I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Good. I've got my coffee. I told Ryan before we started recording that Ecuador has the best coffee, so I'm drinking the coffee I brought back. It's so good.
Nice. Yeah, more importantly, we're happy to have your mic, your proper mic. No,
I was using Kim's ThinkPad, that her work issues, so it was like the worst laptop too. Sorry.
Hey, the show must go on. We did it. We pulled through, and we lost 10 listeners, but other than that, it was fine. Anyways, yeah, I'm really excited to do today's episode. We got some big scenes coming up, so let's just kind of rock and roll and get into it. But, I mean, before we get into the scenes, let's get into the email that you have. You have one email there, Katie.
We do. Hey, Ryan, Katie, and Kyle. I'm an old-time Rocky Series podcast listener, and I'm loving the fresh take on the films with One More Round. I'm currently listening to episode 3 right now and wanted to chime in on some other Rocky filming locations in the Los Angeles area that I've noticed in other movies. The interior of Main Street Gym shows up in the 1972 Fred Williamson blaxploitation classic Hammer. Gym scenes where some of the boxers are training and sparring are no doubt the interior of Mighty Mix. Second example, Rocky's mansion from Rocky IV shows up in the 1979 Linda Blair roller skating movie Roller Boogie. You can see the exterior and interior of the house a few times, including the dining room, same chairs even. A couple more Rocky locations also show up in the 1985 films Breakin' and Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo, the mansion that Kelly Special K lives in which Ozone and Turbo come over for dinner in the first movie, again shows the interiors of Rocky's mansion from Rocky IV, right inside the front door, staircase, dining room. The mansion also shows up in Breakin' 2 as well. Now, speaking of Breakin' 2, if you're not familiar with the plot, it revolves around a community youth center, and I'm 99% sure that one of the interiors of the youth center is the location where Rocky first fought Spider Rico. It looks a little different than when appeared in Rocky, several coats of paint and better lighting, etc. But the architecture and placement of a boxing ring is pretty unmistakable. Anyway, I'm enjoying the new podcast and look forward to what else you've got in store along the way. Cheers, Bob O'Rourke. What a cool email. I have actually never seen any of those movies, but that's cool. I like it.
I've seen both Breakin' movies. Are you kidding me? Come on.
Are they wrestling movies? Boxing? What? I don't...
How dare you? They're breakdancing movies. You know the movie, Step It Up or Step Up or whatever, the cheerleading dance movies that came out in the 90s.
Bring It On.
Bring It On, yeah.
It's like that?
But it's breakdancing. 385 or 82, 84. It's like, anyways, I saw Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo in the theaters.
There was a big breakdancing culture once upon a time, huh?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So thank you so much, Mr. O'Rourke. He also sent links to the YouTube examples. Of course, we can't show that on an audio podcast, but what I might do if I'm bored and have free time, which is very rare that I'm either or bored or have free time, I might piece together. It'd be kind of fun to do to show, because the video was pretty cool. It's very obvious of the sets that he was talking about. He's actually very right. But I could piece together, like, here's a shot of the Rocky film, here's the Electric Boogaloo film, show the juxtaposition between the two. It goes without saying that many houses or locations, of course, are used in different films. Like, I believe people have houses that are legitimately, like, rented out or almost bought out by movie studios. Like, people own the home. It's like a movie will rent it out to do a filming of it or whatever, because this does happen in Hollywood, is what I'm saying. The real homes,
like location scouting.
These homes are used for more than one film. That's a good catch, so thank you. Okay, so if you want to send us an email, Katie, what is our email?
It is One More Round, rockypodcast@gmail.com.
All right. And also, if you want to join our Discord, please join our Discord and watch us live as we record. You don't have to wait for the edit. You get to watch all the stupid stuff that gets edited out. Right now we have Louise and Donald, our faithful Discord listeners, checking us out. Hola. And these shows also come on YouTube audio. Some people actually listen to the show on YouTube, which is weird. And one weird guy goes by the YouTube name of Eccentric Views. That's the name of his channel. So when he comments, or when he or she comments on our YouTube page, that's the name, Eccentric Views. So shout out to them. He actually has Rocky stuff on his channel, which I'm going to share at some point on Twitter. It's actually really cool. But he actually had a comment about our NFT episode. He said, regarding the NFTs, he says,
Forgot about that.
Yeah, he already forgot about that. He goes, yeah, I think Sly doesn't quite understand how silly it makes him look. He probably thinks they're this cool new thing he needs to get involved with. He goes on to say that I don't think it would be about money for him. It's just about looking cool and staying relevant.
That's a good point.
It's hard to say. Sly was complaining earlier about like the rights to the movie or something like that, where he was missing out on like a ton of money. I'm like, well, you have a ton of money already, like probably more money than any reasonable person can spend. I do investments for people, for some really rich people. Just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you don't want more money.
Sure.
There's a certain something about making money. I'm saying that's a possibility. I don't actually know. Sly could just be doing it to seem relevant. Or I think our hypothesis in the last episode was that his manager or whoever, advisor, whatever, convinced him that, hey, this is something you could do. This is the new thing. This is a good idea. And he kind of just went for it.
Yeah, it's the guy that runs that Sly shop.
It's like this close to being the spokesperson of XYZ company, like hair loss for men, celebrities. It's so clear when they're totally just whoring themselves out for a product.
All right. Well, that is it for emails and comments on our YouTube page. Also, I did want to say I showed my sister-in-law. She came to visit for a week. That's my wife's sister. She came to visit us for the week. I was just kind of bored. I'm like, have you seen Rocky? She's 36, and she's like, funny enough, she says, yes, her dad, so my father-in-law and her, just watched the first Rocky a couple weeks ago for the first time, both of them.
What?
And they actually said, we did an honor review, and we just forgot to tell you. I'm like, I can't believe you didn't tell me.
Aww.
I said, well, did you like it? And she goes, yeah, we loved it. You know, the typical response that a 36-year-old woman today would have who's never seen Rocky would say, funny enough, it's more of a love story than I thought it would be, and all the things that we know about the film. So she loved the love story, the relationship of Adrian and Rocky. So I said, do you want to watch Rocky 2? She goes, yeah, I'd love to. I wish I could have filmed, her reactions to the final fight and all that stuff. She loved it, and she wants to watch all the Rocky films now. So we got a new Rocky fan, my sister-in-law. So I guess I'll keep my wife as a family because they like the Rocky films. But I wanted to say something really quick here. Watching Rocky 2 again for the umpteenth time, and I thought, do I save this for our Rocky 2 season 2 discussion? And maybe I'll bring it up again because we might have listeners that don't listen to this episode, listen to those. It's just the way it goes with podcast listeners. So I'll say it. I had the captions on. It was the Blu-ray edition. The part where Apollo was punching his sparring partners, when he says, oh, just get me another one, when he's just laying out. And you hear, though, the audio, Apollo, Apollo, Apollo. You hear the crowd chanting his name. It's in the audio. Now, we're led to believe, this is how I felt, we're led to believe that it's in Apollo's head.
Oh, I didn't think that.
What did you think?
I thought they just had a recording of it to, psych him up.
Okay, I guess I'm alone. Send us an email. Let me know if I'm crazy or not. Because the reason why I'm bringing this up, Kyle's actually in the camp of the caption writer. The caption said, tape cassette audio of the chant. So, or like a recording chant or whatever it was. So it labeled that, yes, Kyle, you're right. It said that, yeah, Apollo is hearing the crowd chant his name as he's sparring, which I think is almost more insane. I think that's...
Yeah, it is.
I get it. I get he's psyching himself up, but the idea that he's... So in the gym, he's laying out sparring partners, and there's an audio of a repetitive chant of his name to psych him up. I thought it was in his head psyching him up, but I guess he legitimately had Tony, hey, Tony, put on the boombox and hit play on the crowd chanting my name on repeat.
I'll have to give it another listen or another when we get to that.
I thought it was in Apollo's head.
Part.
I thought it was to psych himself up, but it was. Kyle, you're right. That's what the Blu-ray people thought too, is that this was a physical thing happening in the gym.
Well, Ryan, they're not always right. You could be correct.
I could be, but I thought that was insane. But Kyle's like right away said that, so that's interesting. I wonder what the camp of Rocky fandom is. Is it a real recording? I think it just makes more sense that it's in his head. I can't believe they actually set this thing up. You know, Apollo's crew set up this tape recorder that hit play on this chant.
To me, it showed like how kind of pampered he was. Like he had his palatial gym and this recording, and he could just go through sparring partners like they're nothing, and kind of feeds into the narrative of the third film that he wasn't connected to his roots, and he got soft in a sense.
Luis agrees with you there, Kyle, that the sound was audible. Paul literally heard it. So there you go. Wow. Okay. Maybe I don't know. It's weird that I thought I was always in his head.
Ryan, that's very outside the box, like kind of artistic type of thinking. I almost to a fault a more linear thinker or more literal thinker. And I miss a lot of in films like that. If there's some kind of artistic liberty that's taken, I don't catch it. Like, I don't know, maybe the Asperger's or something. I think it's cool that you thought that.
Oh, thanks. We got more comments here. Donald also said, I think it's a real recording. All right, fair enough. And last thing, I caught this too, again. The reason why I wanted to bring up, because I didn't want to forget when we did the recording, because it's going to be, a few months from now when we get to season 2, so I didn't want to forget. When Rocky's talking to Gazzo when he's sleeping in the gym. Gazzo comes in to visit Rocky in the gym. He goes, you're Italian, you don't belong doing this. You come work for me at the docks, right? And Rocky says, he says the words, I don't do that stuff no more. Okay? You remember this? When he says he doesn't want to break thumbs anymore and what have you? He points to himself, but I didn't catch it. He actually holds the crucifix in his hand. He holds the crucifix in his hand saying, I don't do this stuff anymore because I found God recently. And it's interesting because throughout all of Rocky 2, he's wearing that crucifix outside of his shirt through the whole movie. And he never did that. He never wore a cross in Rocky Part 1. He gets married. We see this crucifix is prominent throughout the whole. Even my sister-in-law goes, yeah, that cross. He's wearing that cross outside his shirt the whole movie. It's a very conscious choice by Sly to wear. So this is a question again I have for the listeners. Did Sly, the actor, find God between Rocky 1 and Rocky 2? Is it just a character thing? Because he also, in the movie, he talks. He goes to Father Carmine. He obviously gets married in the chapel. Oh yeah, when Adrian comes out of the coma, he mumbles, "Thank you, God." He prays in the chapel. There's so much religious overture in Part 2 that I guess we've always known was there. But when I counted all the different moments that there was prayer, going to God, searching God, and then he held his crucifix talking to Gazzo. I don't do this. That's not me anymore. He holds his crucifix. He makes a note of holding that, showing that Gazzo, I've found God now.
That is not at all how I took it, but you're bringing up some really good points. I always took it as, I'm a family man now.
I did too, until this viewing when he actually held the crucifix when he said that. That was the clue. He grabbed the crucifix saying, that's not me anymore. I thought he was pointing at himself, but no, he's holding the jewelry.
I mean, it might have been purposeful, or, he's fidgety. He's always got to be. But yeah, you did bring up a number of scenarios. The priest thing, obviously they got married. His wife's in a situation where even a non-religious person would pray. The Italian priest thing just seems like, oh, of course, everybody in the neighborhood probably has a couple of priests that they know well,
But of all the Rocky
I don't
films,
know.
Of all the Rocky films, it's the most religious. It has the most religious overtures. And I'm just curious, again, to our listeners, let us know in an email or comments on our YouTube channel. Am I off my rocker? Just saying about the audio thing. Like, it just seems like Rocky makes it clear as a character and or Sly as an actor, because we know he infuses his real life into these films. Did he, at this point, find God again in his life? Who knows? It'd be interesting. Okay.
Oh, I was just going to say, isn't that awesome that, how many times have you seen these movies and you're still noticing and posing new questions? So that's great. Awesome.
This podcast is the last round. We should call it one more and final round. We're not going to go through the series a third time. That'd be hilarious. One more and the final round. Maybe we should have retitled that.
We'll be like the Rocky films. We'll be like them where it's like, this is the last one.
Good point, Kyle.
Do another series.
How meta.
I'm officially retired. Okay, there we go. Let's go into the film. So the last time we left is when Rocky said, I should have broke your thumbs. And Bill Conti plays that wonderful score over Rocky walking away. Now we got this great exchange that's going to happen between Mike and Rocky before Rocky enters Mighty Mix.
Hey, Ralph, heard you did real good last night.
Absolutely, should have seen me.
Don't you think you ought to take a rest?
No, my back is hurt.
Your back?
My back is hurt. You deaf?
I'm short.
Okay. First, what I like is Mike actually mentions, I heard you did real good. So I guess there has been some scuttlebutt in the gym that Mike works in that Rocky beat Spider Rico. Maybe Spider Rico was some sort of... It seems like Spider Rico is some sort of accomplished fighter because even Rocky's really proud of the fact that he beat Spider Rico.
A guy like who's playing pool in the bar, he knew who Spider Rico was.
That's true. So I guess maybe Spider Rico he's not a bum. Well, we'll find out later that's how Mickey feels. But then Rocky mentions that his back is hurting. Do we ever get any indication later in the films ever again about back issues with Rocky?
No, I think when Rocky's on his date with Adrian and he's saying like the morning after a fight, you're really sore and you're hurting. I just chalk it up as part of that.
But why was Rocky so snappy with Mike? Are you deaf?
Good question. People are kind of dicks to each other in this film a lot. I don't know if it's just kind of like the neighborhood or just the culture there, but people are really rude to each other in general. And he was pretty rude to Mike there. Mike was being real nice to him too. Like, it's kind of sad. Mike's like the beta male of this place, I guess. I don't know.
I can't wait till we cover Rocky V when Mike's twin brother Jimmy.
So my back is hurting and the I'm short part. I know this has probably been discussed like ad nauseum, but when I was younger, I was always confused about shouldn't you take a rest? No, my back is hurting. I'm going to come work out. And now I'm like, okay, well, maybe he just wants to get his body moving so it doesn't keep stiff or something. Whatever. That's maybe how I'm explaining that. But are you deaf? No, I'm short. What the hell is that? Does anybody have any idea?
Maybe sound takes longer to get to him or something, or it loses its volume the farther it travels down.
I could give a little bit of insight, maybe. A couple things. I think Rocky, first about his back, I think Rocky is going to the steam room, where he's really going for his back. I think he says later on, he's like, I'm going to go take a steam because I did real good last night. I think that's what happens. This short guy here reminds me of my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law's about 5'4", and he wears a hat like that too. Like a lot about this guy reminds me of my brother-in-law. It's hard as a guy being short, especially if you're really short like that. A lot of women don't want to date you. A lot of other guys don't respect you. It's not easy like that. It's not fair either. It shouldn't be that way at all.
Right, no.
And I'm talking in general, right? There's lots of people who are that height who are fine, but I'm just, in general, they kind of have a chip on their shoulder about it. My brother-in-law certainly does. He'll kind of bring it up like that. So Rocky's saying oh, are you deaf? He's saying, no, that's not my problem. My problem in life is that I'm short. Yeah, it doesn't have to do with his hearing, but he's just kind of lamenting the fact that he's short.
I love
Good insight, Kyle.
I love it. That's great. It's great. I love the hat because it adds a couple inches, right? You can put a hat on your head. It gives you a couple inches of height.
Short guys like that, if you notice, and Sly's like this, because Sly's not tall. They often wear shoes.
How dare you?
Lifted,
Sly is 6 feet tall, full set of hair. How dare you?
This guy, he just has normal sneakers, though. He's owning it, so to speak.
I do like how Mike is cleaning the garbage outside Mighty Mixo. That's pretty good. That's pretty cool. Like he's actually makes it nice and neat outside.
Mm-hmm.
That's his job, right? He cleans up and you get outside, get some fresh air, get away from Mick.
Yeah, that gym probably stinks no other, too.
I just love how busy the gym is. This is a packed house. This is a very popular, busy gym. Mickey's doing pretty good. If everyone's paying their monthly fees here, Mickey's doing all right.
He should teach Polly some lessons, or maybe that's where Polly got his business sense.
Even that Sperino who takes over this gym all those years later, man, that guy is not running the business like Mick did.
No.
You can really feel the energy in this place. There's a good vibe here.
Because they got the eye of the tiger. They're hungry. They're hungry, Rock.
Yeah.
Have you guys talked about the fashion is quite the right word, the clothing that was worn in the 70s? I'm not sure if you guys have met me or not, but I'm very much an old soul and I like things that are old. I love the look, this look, the high socks with the stripe and the kind of the boots, not just the low tops. I really like the look of 70s-esque boxing. midriff when Apollo, the midriff shirts. It's ridiculous, but I freaking love it.
What do you think of the guy's suit here? The guy has a towel over his shoulder, but he's actually wearing a suit.
He's managing somebody, I bet.
Maybe.
Just typical 70s. It's the brown color. Everything's brown or orange in the 70s. And then his shirt, you see it has several buttons are undone. The collar's quite restrained for the 70s. It's quite a small collar. I think you get a couple of years on in the 70s, you get the really large collars that go out.
I have pictures of me wearing large collared shirts when I was a little one.
Yeah, we'll have to comment on Gazzo's suit. His look. Also love. Big fan of Gazzo over here.
Yeah, he's the best.
So, of course, this scene that we're watching now is Rocky going to his locker.
Could we rewind just a little bit? I want to read what that sign says, if we could.
The one that's over Rocky's head that you walk by?
Yeah.
No kissing.
No kissing. When I saw this in the theater, I noticed that. I couldn't remember why. I just remember noticing that sign being weird. I couldn't remember why.
No kissing.
But isn't that an odd sign for that locker room?
I at first was like, why are they telling them not to kiss each other? Like, is this a big problem? And then I'm, oh, duh, they're just women weaken legs, right? Isn't that what it's like
a men's
supposed to
locker room.
connote? Well, that's how I initially took it. I honestly think it's reminding them about how women weaken legs.
Again, that's an interesting perspective. So not saying no kissing in the locker room, but in general, when you leave, your guys are fighters. No kissing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I like that.
Because it would not make sense. Like, homosexuality, and it wouldn't be like such a prevalent thing that's talked about that they have to put a sign up in the locker room here. I mean, you know what I mean?
Maybe
Like,
it's ironic or something.
Well, you're right. So I think you're both right in the sense of, or both theories are sound. Either it's an ironic statement because back in the 70s, I would argue, no offense to the 70s, 70s, don't at me. They probably weren't very gay friendly publicly. You know,
right.
That wasn't a thing back then. We know it wasn't, right? Being openly gay was not embraced. So it's either ironic, like Kyle's saying, men aren't going to be kissing and making out in the locker room. Even if it did happen, it's not embraced. And then, Katie, you're also, I think it's a good sound theory that it's real reminder to the fighters that, hey, when you leave the locker room, when you go outside in the world, hey, keep it in your pants, so to speak, because you guys are fighters. Stay hungry, stay strong. So either way, I think both work. But I don't think it's a real sign to tell people not to make out in the locker room. Because then they say, like, you know, no glory holing in the stalls.
Yeah, no blowjobs in the steam room. Anywhere else.
All right. Yeah, and Louise in our chat brought up a good point that he kind of sides with Kyle in that it was more acceptable back then to even make fun of gay people. So that was the joke. So that's the irony. Like, hey, no kissing in the male locker room. So the idea that it is a joke is probably what it is. You know, men making fun of gay guys is certainly.
It's like women weaken legs, but it doesn't mean I can't dudes, right?
Yeah. Well, that's gonna be edited. Now I think he was doing the Bridge of River Kwai whistling, do 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 do. That military march song that we all know. Bum 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 bum.
oh my God, I only know it from The Breakfast Club.
Oh.
I didn't know what it was from other than The Breakfast
it's
Club.
a military march. The River Kwai was made that popular back in the day, so that would have made sense for this time of the film. Of course, he doesn't know the combo, or he thinks he doesn't know the combo. Now, him pulling that out of his hat, that was actually John G. Avildsen that suggested that Rocky has the combo in his hat. I think it's a great little touch.
It is a great touch.
You think how like quirky Rocky is? This guy's different. That is so weird. It's so weird. Keep your locker combination in your hat like that, but it's kind of like an eccentricity, a cool quirk that makes you like the person.
Rather than keeping it in your wallet, is that what you mean?
Yeah, I guess so. Or even just having it at all. For me, once you learn your locker combo, you learn your locker combo. You don't forget that.
You get hit in the head a lot, though.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, good point, Katie.
And did you see, again, watching it so closely, I kind of love this. His second try, when he tries it first and it doesn't open, you see him glance up to make sure that he's at the right locker before he tries it again. And then it still doesn't work. And then he gets his hat off.
Good catch. I always thought he was just looking up to the sky to remember, but he was looking at the locker number. I like that. Okay, there you go.
Oh, either way, I thought he was looking to ensure he was at the right locker.
I think that's probably correct.
Yeah.
That's a logical thing, right? Because you got to make sure you're at the correct locker. And
Yeah, I do love how he's got the combo. Imagine Rocky in today's world trying to remember all your passwords for computers and stuff.
yeah, he needs that app. I don't know what app that is. Man, if we had sponsors in this show, that would be like the perfect place.
Oh, we
Put
could combination your hat app. There you go. To remember all passwords to your hat app. Here.
How old was that fire extinguisher? Like, is that thing from the 30s?
I would say
Like,
50s. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this copper or bronze fire extinguisher that I think it's the one that like shoots water or something. It's not even
It's
that.
water.
Like,
Yeah, that's a water.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's water.
yeah.
And there's two of them.
Which I think is pretty crazy to have two. I mean, how many small fires are they expecting in this
Yeah.
locker room? But that's
Everyone smoked back then.
Yeah.
You get fire extinguishers everywhere. Like that's just that's insane. Smoking is one of those things. Like I know lots of people still do it, but it's like the more you look back on it, the more bizarre it is.
right. Sure, of course. That's an old style extinguisher there. It looks like you would turn the top, that wheel at the top there, you turn it to the right to get the water pressure
Open.
flowing. Yeah.
Oh.
And then there's probably a handle that you squeeze to get the pressure out, but you'd have to open that top up before you squeeze on the trigger. But yeah, so it's got this big copper. I agree, is probably copper. I think at this point, Rocky does know it's not his lock. That's why he's so ready to break it. And 6 years, this locker is never not open for me, and so he's going to grab. He knows it's not his. Something's up. He kind of knows.
I think you could be right on that. I'll just tell you what I've always thought. For example, sometimes, when it's just things aren't going right, when you're really overwhelmed, like yesterday, I had a long, hard day, and at the end of the day, my earphones weren't pairing to my phone. I just wanted to listen to some music while I was doing housework, and I was just so sick. I was just at the end of my rope that day, and I just wanted to smash my phone or smash those earphones. I've always thought of it. He's just like, oh, this lock isn't working. F this shit. I just want to open it. I will just smash it open. I just don't care anymore.
I think you're right. I think I agree. That is the first time viewing. But I'm wondering at this point, we know the history that he's been here for 6 years. It's probably not the first time a locker's been taken from a guy. So he might know at this point, hey, something's up here. This isn't my lock. But yeah, either way, he's pissed off. Either way, he's going to.
Yeah. No, Ryan, I think yours is sound. That absolutely could be it.
I do like how he gets it on the first try. So was this Sly really breaking a lock, or was this a prop lock that was just going to open with her? Because
It's probably a prop lock.
Okay.
It could be, but that's a legitimately broken lock. They maybe broke it, just used some super glue or something to keep it together. So when he hit it, it would come off for sure.
Because locks are tough to break. I mean, that's a good solid hit. Like, don't get me wrong. He hit it, it looks like he gave it an honest hit, but I'm telling you, if you gave the task, like take an extinguisher and try to break, you're not going to break it on the first hit. I guarantee you won't.
That sounds like a challenge.
Oh, challenge accepted.
We may have to replicate this. I'm going to have to find a fire extinguisher like that in a padlock.
Yeah, I feel like you would bend the copper before you'd break the lock.
Possibly, yeah.
I don't know.
Copper is a softer metal, maybe. But yeah, the idea that this lock broke on that first hit, I know it's just a movie. But again, locks aren't that easy to break unless it's. But yeah, I think it's a problem.
It shows Rocky's strength, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It shows that
Look how
he's
menacing he was.
powerful and he's competent. And he can hit that lock. Like physically, he has the physical capabilities where he could just smash that lock first try because he's badass like that.
Now, of course, this is a classic, a little moment here where, we know as an audience, like, this couldn't be Rocky's locker. There's a bunch of black women on the pictures of black women. There's no way this is like, why doesn't Rocky have an affinity for black women? We as a viewer, again, like, oh, this can't be Rocky's locker. This isn't.
Well, we know he likes Adrian, right? We know he's into Adrian. We don't see any pictures of black women in his apartment.
Also, again, it's the 70s, and so one could make a pretty good guess that this is. Does the woman on the left, doesn't she look like Grace Jones, sort of?
One that's baring her teeth.
Yeah.
One. I find black women attractive. The one in the middle looks pretty attractive. The one on the left there looks scary to me.
She does. I know. That's why I wondered, because Grace Jones is known for being pretty outrageous. And I just wondered if it was a connection. It's probably not her because she looks a little too. It's probably not her.
No, it's not her.
But
the age wouldn't make sense. Yeah,
the age would make sense. Okay. If it was, I was like, well, Dolph Lundgren was famously Grace Jones's boyfriend for a long while.
That's right.
In real life. I thought it was a Rocky reference to a later movie, but it's not. Okay.
No,
This is so soft core too, right? Like the most scandalous thing there is there's a woman in granny panties and a sports bra. And then I guess one in a bathing suit there, but I'm like, he's pretty conservative here. Usually you'd see some boobs or something.
There's just like a bikini and some legs.
yeah, we got a picture of literally just legs, no body,
Legs.
just 2 pairs of legs. So he's a leg guy, maybe. Yeah, we have that one girl who she looks fairly young, kind of wearing a sports bra type thing and panties in a hunched over sitting position. The scowling face that we all know about. I think everyone kind of sees that one first, and then a very conservative. This could be my aunt picture. Like this could be. This could go.
Yes.
Like that one could go. On
Honestly, I like that one the best, if you ask me. I don't know why. It's like a MILF thing or something. Sorry, Ryan, for all your editing you're going to have to do on this.
MILF is fine. MILF is fine.
Oh, okay.
There is one. Now look below the girl who's sitting. There's a girl who is naked, but her nudity is covered by
A sticker.
a sticker. You know what it says? Get yours now. That's what it says over the woman as it covers her.
It's like from a magazine. She's hawking a
Yeah.
product of some sort, right?
It's for sure. Well, okay, so I'll share a very brief childhood story here, teenagehood story. So when I was a young man, internet pornography wasn't really a thing. So we had to find ours the old-fashioned way, and there was this old garage in our neighborhood, our friend's dad's garage, and he had this box of like 70s porn that we used to break into his garage and take it. And there was stuff like this in there, where it's like the back, there's like advertisements where you could buy more and you could order in. Like you'd cut out this thing and send it in. And it's like, get more. And they would star out the naughty areas and stuff. Like, so I'm pretty convinced someone cut this out of like a porn or that kind of magazine and put it in the locker here, which is so sad that you cut out like the advertisement one.
Hey, yo, Mike. Where's my lock? Whose stuff is this in my lock?
Stipper stuff. It ain't your locker no more.
What you talking about ain't my lock? It's been my locker for 6 years. Where's my gear?
All right, so now we're getting a little bit of history here. So he's been, as we know, he's been at this gym for 6 years. So he started coming to this gym when he was 24. Just a little
Yeah.
backstory there, yeah.
How did Rocky not get drafted into Vietnam? Like, how is that possible? That'd be 1969. He would have been 24, not in college. He would have qualified for no deferments. I have actually a similar question for Sly. How did Sly not get drafted into Vietnam?
I can tell you how my dad didn't. If you have a really late number. Also, my dad did go to college, but he had his number was 350 something. So it was unlikely he was going to.
You could check if Stallone's birthday, maybe, because they did the draft number based on your birthday.
I can answer your question, actually, Kyle.
Okay. Okay.
This is some of the where some of the hatred for Sly in real world has come from over the years. Is some people have accused him of being a draft dodger because during the time of the draft, he seemed to do a lot of outside of the U.S. filming. He went to other locations and places, so he wasn't in the States during some of that draft time. I don't know exactly how it works, but I also know not everyone is drafted. You don't draft the whole population of the United States doesn't go to war. So to be fair to Sly and I guess the Rocky character, just because you're eligible doesn't mean you go. There's a variety of reasons why people don't go. So not every young man goes, or else you'd have obviously a force of millions. But people have to also still work and go to school, and so that still happens. So not everyone was a dodger. Obviously, the famous Donald Trump was that he had shingles, or was it Spurs?
Spurs. Yeah.
So I mean, we know the jokes there, but the point is there are reasons why people don't go. But I think for Sly in real life, yes, he was out of the country for a period of time, quote unquote, acting. There is some speculation that he was avoiding the draft. So be it. Unless you talk to the man himself, I don't think we'll ever get a straight answer. But regarding the Rocky character, you could just argue, his back was hurting. He couldn't do it. So,
Yeah, because typically they drafted out of the working class beginning of that war, big time. That's why one of the reasons why the draft lottery came up is because people felt like certain groups are being drafted a lot more. A lot of black guys from Philly were getting drafted. That's pretty well known. But yeah, I guess with like Rocky, perhaps his number just hadn't come up
And here's a good
what-
question that Louise posted in our Discord, which is why we love having our Discord, because people are smarter than us. The question is, does having a criminal record affect the draft?
I don't think it can be a violent felony or anything like that, because a lot of the people, to Kyle's point, before the lottery, sadly, it's the same population that unfortunately has to resort to crimes, petty crimes. A lot of people would have had a record that did get drafted. I guess
assume
is
so,
where
yeah.
I'm going
No,
with
good
that.
Point,
Yeah.
Good point. I think it actually, ironically, it affects it today. Yeah, you can't join the military today, I'm pretty certain, with a criminal record. I know they do criminal checks in the Canadian military, so.
I think even the U.S. military, if you were to enlist voluntarily prior to the war, they would prefer that you didn't have a criminal record. They kind of have their pick. Whereas in Vietnam, when they, no one was enlisting anymore and they were drafting, they were getting more desperate by the end just to get warm bodies in. But I know, like, for some people, there were cases where you had the choice between going to, it was more World War II era, between going to war or going to jail.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
My theory is maybe Rocky was in jail.
Well, the war lasted for quite some time, like multiple years. So I don't think he was in jail for the whole time, but yeah.
Good questions. But I think Sly, the actor, that's the speculation. That's why he has some people that don't like him, actually. Yeah. Conscious ejector at the time. He just wasn't public about it. So that's fair. That's his right. He did what he did. He didn't break any laws. He just wasn't around. So
Mickey told me to bag it, hang it.
You put my stuff on Skid Row. I've been in that locker for 6 years and you put my stuff in a bag on Skid Row?
Mickey tells me what to do, I gotta do it, right, Rock?
Where is it?
He's outside working with Dipper.
I love how Mike is actually a little bit afraid there. He's like, I just do what I'm told to do. Mickey's my boss. Rocky's a tough guy, right? And you got this. He's a little bit nervous here. Do you get the sense he's nervous here at this moment?
Yeah, I think he sees it's bullshit. That's a pretty big disrespect to someone. I'm sure the lockers are somewhat based on seniority.
Sure, yeah.
I've been there 6 years, which is probably longer than a lot of people have been there. And all of a sudden, you're going to make me bottom of the totem pole around here. You're all of a sudden the low guy in the community now for apparently no reason other than some other guy who you don't know now needs this locker. I'm sure there's someone who just got a locker a year ago. You think if Dipper needed a locker so bad, they'd take it from one of those guys. But no, they're going to take it from Rocky, who's been there for 6 years. To me, that's a very clear message.
Yeah.
Hey, Rocky, you're not welcome here anymore. We don't want you here anymore.
Dipper's a contender.
I noticed this when I watched the movie in the theater. Like, it's one of the advantages of the big screen. There is a pin on Mike's hat here. It's blurry. I can't see what it says now, but it's something about his height. Something with Shorty or I'm Shorty or something like that.
Come up clear just a second here. Yeah, there is a scene I want to pause on where we see Mike's flair. He's got a lot of flair, which shows that he hangs stuff on Skid Row. He sweeps the garbage outside, but he also is the tape and cut guy.
Can I comment on a bit of Rocky's looks here too?
Please.
So I was noticing, I love how he delivers those lines. Where's my gear? In such a deliberate, slow, seemingly calm way. Well, obviously, I'm very physically attracted to Rocky. One of the things I noticed, maybe potentially why, have you noticed how prominent his Adam's apple is? And it's used a lot. We see it move a lot when he talks, and it's like almost a part of his facial features. Don't you guys think it's super prominent? And another, Patrick Swayze also had a very similar demeanor when he acted, and the way that his Adam's apple was very prominent and moved. And
That's a good catch, yeah.
Both very attractive,
Bad boy.
manly
bad
men.
Boy.
Yeah.
He's a little bit of a bad boy, Katie. I know.
Yeah.
He's tough. And look how much taller. Sly must be on stilts here because we know Sly is maybe 5'8". Mike looks like he's 4'9" here.
I'm actually very curious how tall he is because depending on the source, he is anywhere from 5'8" to 5'11".
If the source is Sly, he's 5'11". If the source is...
So somewhere between 5'9" and a half, maybe, which is actually average height.
Yeah, I think he's probably 5'9".
Yeah, I agree. That's my estimate for him.
Mike's supposed to say he's in a bad mood. Mickey's in a bad mood. Of course, Rocky says, so am I. But Kyle, can you read it says here, I'm Santa's... I can't quite make out the bottom word. Let's just play it for a little bit here.
He's in a bad mood.
So am I.
Yeah, it does Santa's agent maybe or something. It's hard to see. Yeah. But it's Santa's something. But look at the flair on his stuff here, what he's got here.
Oh, yeah, tape, clothespin.
I just noticed, too, it's a suit jacket, which is weird.
But he's got Q-tips here pinned with a clothespin to his pocket. So he's got Q-tips. He's a cut man, yeah. So he does everything, this guy.
He's Mickey's assistant. He helps out around the gym. He's running the gym. And as far as we could tell, he's the only guy there other than Mickey. And Mickey isn't doing any of the grunt work.
And we know Mike's brother, Jimmy, is also a trainer because he trains Rocky's son in Part 5.
Mm-hmm.
He comes by at night, obviously. Does the night sweep-ups that Rocky eventually did in Rocky 2.
We have to assume that Jimmy is in the gym right now at Mighty Mix, but he's just not shown until Rocky 5.
He's hiding in a bag at Skid Row right now. Pop out any moment.
Hey, man, shut up.
So, holy smokes. So Rocky goes over to talk to Mick. Our first line for Mick, that should have been a good trivia. What is Mickey's first line in Rocky? Shut up! That's actually how I greet my children in the morning before I've had my coffee. Hey, Dad, shut up!
Why does he even bother with the docking cap, too? It's like on the back of his head. What's that doing?
Hiding a bald spot.
Oh, maybe.
Burgess Meredith, those are prosthetic ears that he has on to give him that cauliflower ear.
I didn't
And the
know that.
nose, too. Apparently the nose is makeup, too, to make it that puffy nose. That's all makeup.
It's pretty good for the 70s.
Another side note, Burgess Meredith playing Mickey, of course. We all know this. I'm not saying anything we don't know, but there might be the odd person doesn't know. He's the same age here that Sly was in Creed Part 1.
Craziness,
Which
eh?
is how old? 69. Which is funny. I think we once debated about his age here, but I think he's like 7. He says in this movie he's like 76 years old.
76 years old, and yeah.
And then his
His
grave
headstone,
marker in Rocky 3 says otherwise. He's actually character is older than he really is.
Right, so that's fine. So the character is 76, but yeah, Burgess Meredith himself is 69. Okay.
And just look at how much attention Dipper's getting here. Dipper has his trainer. You could hear him. He's like, that's right, to the bye. And then Mick's there. So Dipper has 2 guys working on him, where a lot of the other guys in the gym either have one person, if they're lucky, or probably nobody.
And he's in the ring, too, with a sparring person. There seemingly are only... How many rings are there? 2 or 3?
2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah.
So Rocky just wants to get Mickey's attention. Shut up. What's the response? Mickey goes back to watching Dipper.
To the body. That'll work.
Time! The hell, what do you want?
How you feeling today?
What?
I said, how you feeling?
What are you, a doctor or
Oh,
something?
you got problems today?
Never mind my problem. What's your problem?
My problem is I've been talking to your man Mike. I want to know how come I've been put out of my lock.
Because Dipper needed it. Dipper's a contender. He's a climber. You know what you are?
What?
A tomato.
To me.
Yeah, let's face it. I run a business here, not a goddamn soup kitchen.
Ooh.
These insults I find hilarious. You're a tomato. Also, is his voice, was it... Because that's not how Burgess Meredith speaks, is
To a
it? Or is
degree,
it?
It's the same kind of change you could say. Is Sly? See, here's the thing with Sly when he did Rocky. This was his first movie where he was made a world star, right? So people thought Sly sounded punchy until they heard him in real life. But we know that Sly puts on the Rocky persona. He makes himself a little bit punchy sounding. No, I don't. You hear him in interviews, very articulate, does not sound like Rocky. And so the misconception is the same here for Burgess Meredith. He also doesn't sound quite this gravelly. He does enhance it. He does kind of have that voice to begin with, but he just enhances it a little bit. He's driving it more for the film than he does in real life. But he actually does kind of have this voice.
My first time I saw Burgess Meredith was in the Batman TV series. He plays the Penguin. And he actually does, as the Penguin, sound a lot like Mickey.
Yeah. There's
He makes that sound like wah, wah, wah,
yeah. He does
as the Penguin. When I saw him as Mickey, it's like, wow, that makes sense. If you guys listening want to hear a younger version of him, he was in the U.S. Army, and there's a video, I've shared it with Ryan and Katie in the past, where he is training, I guess, soldiers of how to act and behave while they're in England during the war.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
And
also
he,
that.
he sounds quite different than here. He doesn't have that gruff voice, but a lot of the mannerisms and stuff are there. But he's in uniform, and he had an officer's rank, I believe, back then.
And of course, he was in that classic Twilight Zone episode. It's one of my favorite episodes of all time. All he wanted to do was read. he got into this whatever meta universe where he had books everywhere, piled sky high. He could spend the rest of his days just reading, but he broke his glasses. That was the yeah. He wasn't able to read. He's surrounded by books he couldn't read. Classic.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Oh, sorry, spoiler alert.
So 2 things might be happening.
Mm-hmm.
People seem older when they're not that old back in the day, like in the 70s. A 76-year-old maybe seems like a 90-year-old, but they really make him seem like an old man the way he talks. What? That's like very old man-y.
Yeah, well, I feel like someone like him too. I find people were rougher back then. This guy came of age during the Depression, was a fighter for decades. He probably lived rough. And he probably was a smoker and a drinker. And guys like that back then,
Yeah.
they did not live a lifestyle that was conducive to old age.
When Burgess Meredith's... Oh, sorry, all good points, guys. Sorry. I do that sometimes. I'm always listening to you guys, but I don't always comment on the comments Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, so Burgess Meredith here, I believe, I'm 99% sure that he ad-libbed the tomato and the line, I'm not running a soup kitchen. That was ad-libbed.
It's brilliant.
Like, he roasted him here.
Yeah.
Because at first, like, calling him a tomato is kind of, to me, like calling him soft, squishy, or just like not. But then it's like, I run a business, not a goddamn soup kitchen. In other words, I make decisions that are in my interest, not a charity to you. But also, soup kitchen and tomato is like a food, like a double entendre or something there. So that was quite a clever burn. I like that.
Yeah, it's my understanding. That's let me know if I'm wrong, dear listeners, but I'm 90% sure that was ad-lib. And so now Mickey asks the question, did you fight last night? And Rocky, I just love this exchange. So Mickey's showing us somewhat a bit of interest, like, did you fight last night? And Rocky's like, yeah. Did you win?
Last night?
Yeah.
Did you win?
Yeah, I won KO in a second.
Yeah, who'd you fight?
Spider Rico.
He's a bum.
Oh, bump
Take
count.
everybody.
Oh, okay, yes.
Two bums there.
I want to point some out here. So you asked him who he fought. Did Rocky seem embarrassed to say Spider Rico? Worried that Mickey would judge him? I got that vibe.
Well, you had mentioned the guy in the pool hall, or Andy said, oh, is he still around? So you had you were maybe inferring that he was a little bit of a has-been or on his way out. So that might be coming up here again.
I just got corrected in Discord. Thank you, Donald. This is why we have Discord, to make me the host embarrassed. I knew there was a line coming out that was ad-libbed. It's the retirement line. That's right. That is right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense because he says tomato and then they work off that tomato. I wouldn't say that's good ad-libbing on both actors' part, but no. Do you ever think about retiring? That was ad-libbed. Okay.
Yeah, now that you say that, I remember now. That's definitely right.
If anybody asks me, they didn't finish the episode. Sorry.
Play it through.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention, I have no important insights here other than I have always loved that delivery of Mickey's when he laughs and says he's a bum. The way he laughs and says he's a bum, I don't know why I find it hilarious.
It is great. I mean, Burgess Meredith rightfully still got nominated for Best Supporting Actor for this film. He is amazing in this film. And now I love it when he spits. It's kind of gross. He's spitting in real life. Like he's spitting on the floor. Who cleaned this up after?
Is there a little thing he spits into, I wonder?
Is it like a tuh? I spit on it. Is that
Okay.
what it is?
There's a line in Goodfellas where Karen, Hank Hill's wife, is talking about the police coming to search her house. And she says Hank's colleague, Jimmy Conway, who's played by Robert De Niro, his wife would get incensed when the police would search their house, and she would spit on her floor out of anger. And Karen's like, I don't get that. Why would you spit on your own floor?
Yeah, that's right.
That's a good point. But I would assume Mick is spitting into the spit buckets that the boxers use, so he's probably spitting into the spit bucket. Which is all just gross to me anyways. It's spitting into the spit bucket. This is all gross. I find the whole spit bucket part of boxing very gross.
Spitting's a sports thing too. Next time you watch a Major League Baseball game, look in the dugout and how disgusting it is.
No, I don't want
There's
to.
like sunflower seeds, cups. They just don't give a shit. To me, that bugs me. I'm like, have a garbage can there. Like, throw your garbage away, you pigs. It's like football seems better. They have their act together. I don't know. Some sports, they're just animals.
Football players, they don't spit, but they just gamble and beat their spouses.
You do your dirty work off the
That's
field,
right,
guys.
off the
Fight is a bum.
Well, ain't they? You got heart, but you fight like a goddamn ape. Nothing special about you. You never got your nose busted.
So we're getting a lot of insight here. So Mickey has seen Rocky for 6 years. So he's saying, hey, look, he recognizes, Rocky, you got a good heart. You mean well. You love the sport. You love boxing. You're here all the time. You know, you show up and you go out and do it. You fight like an ape. What I love about that analogy is, you know, apes in the wild, when they swing, they just kind of like haymakers. You know, they just, whoa, 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 they just swing around. There's no technique, no finesse. They're just big, rumbling beasts who just keep pound, 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 pound. There's no finesse or style or technique.
Just brute.
And then also he says, you never got your nose busted. So this is an interesting, I think what Mickey's saying is like, maybe have you fought anyone of value?
I misinterpreted this line every time I watched Rocky until I just read the subtitle. It said, the only thing special about you is that you've never got your nose busted. And I always heard it differently. I always heard it as, there's nothing special about you. You never got your nose busted. Like, if you're a real boxer, you'd have your nose busted. That's always how I took it. Later in the film, when Rocky finally gets his nose broken, Mickey says, that's an improvement. Kind of reinforced what I thought there, but the subtitle seems to give a totally different thing. Like, that's somehow a good thing that you've never got your nose busted.
Well, this is the only thing special about you is having got your nose busted. There's two ways of doing that. Either he hasn't gone to a real down and dirty type of fight, or for whatever reason, these 6 years he's been at the gym or been boxing his whole life, he actually has been blocking punches for some reason. Rocky decided to stop blocking punches when he entered the
Yeah, I was going to say, that doesn't fly.
He's on a date with Adrian, right? He says, like, I've had guys busted on it, I've had guys chewing on it, I've had... Like...
He's never been busted. Busted!
Oh, God. Oh, leave it that way. I don't recall taking this to heart or really hearing it before, but leave it that way, nice and pretty. And what's left of your mind. Is foreshadowing much?
We know what Mickey really feels, so they have the confrontation later. Mickey does recognize Rocky's talent. And Mickey laments that it was wasted. You know, looking back, perhaps Mickey's kicking him out here because it's hard for him to see Rocky. It bothers him.
I think so. I think
it bothers him. He has great talent, and it's being wasted. And it's just sometimes out of sight, out of mind. Rocky, go fight somewhere else. You're not going to go anywhere as a fighter. Why yourself up, both physically and mentally, for no reason? Deep down, he almost maybe kind of cares about him, although it obviously doesn't come across that way, the way he's so disrespectful. But like I said, people are kind of just rude to each other in this movie in general. Like, it's a very kind of tougher working class, lowbrow type of societies. And
Leave it that way. Nice and pretty, and what's left of your mind.
Hey, you know, Mick, I think I'm gonna go take a steam. You know why? Because I did real good last night. You should have seen me.
Big deal.
You should have seen me, too.
Hey, kid. You ever think about retiring?
No.
You think about it. Yeah. All right, time.
All right. So there's that classic line, you ever think about retiring? That was the ad-lib, yeah. And I like how Sly worked with it. At that point, it wasn't scheduled to, hey, kid, and Sly turns to look, yeah. You ever think about retiring? No. Well, think about it. It's interesting because already here in Rocky, the first Rocky film, we have indication of future brain damage when it goes, leave what's left of your mind. And then we have the retiring theme that's already been introduced, albeit ad-libbed, but we have the idea of Rocky retiring. It has been mentioned in every single film. What film was it never mentioned in?
6.
But he came out of retirement. You're right, but the idea of retirement has always been a subject. It's always been a subject.
Yeah, well, he's 30 years old. That's a little old to start really moving up boxing. There are championship fighters who are older than that, but if they were well established, usually before the age of 30. There are late bloomers, like Lennox Lewis was a late bloomer, but even he still did well when he was younger than 30. Yeah, usually it's like if you don't got it by 30, it's time to find something else to do.
I do like you mentioned your Kyle. He mentioned that Rocky says to Mick, "I'm going to go take a steam," and he says it like, "Because I did good last night." Is a steam a bit of a luxurious type activity or something, or?
It's relaxing. Yeah, going in the steam room. His back hurts. He wants to let his muscles relax, and
we'll stop here. Great sequence, boy. Things are rolling now. Things are rolling. Mickey's been introduced. Rocky stuff's on Skid Row. We're about to, I think the next scenes will be, Paulie will be introduced. So we're getting all the characters, all the main players are being introduced here. Fantastic interplay between Sly and Burgess Meredith. Sly's a draft dodger. We've established that. Mike is short. He's got a twin brother named Jimmy. So things are moving along.
Indeed.
Well, that's it. That's the end of the episode.
I didn't hear no bell.
I just want to say one thing.